Identity verified. You have entered Syb3r S0ry. I am JAX, your guide into the breach. What the threat reports don't publish. What the breach notifications don't disclose. What the underground already knows. Delivered cold. Delivered precise. No filters. No reassurance, just the signal. Initializing transmission. You did not tap anything. You did not open anything. You did not click a single link. Your phone was already compromised before you picked it up this morning. The message that did it arrived overnight, processed itself silently in the background, took control of the device, and then deleted itself. There was nothing to notice, because nothing was shown to you. No notification, no sound, no trace. Every piece of security advice you have ever been given. Think before you click. Do not open attachments, verify the sender. All of it assumes the attack needs your participation. This one does not. I am JAX. This is Syb3r S0ry. Transmission begins now. A zero-click exploit is exactly what it sounds like. An attack that requires no interaction from the victim at all. Every phone runs code automatically, constantly, without asking you. When a message arrives, the phone parses it to show a preview. When an image comes in, the phone decodes it to render the thumbnail. When a call rings, the phone processes the data before you answer. All of that happens in the background before you touch anything, and every one of those automatic steps is a place where malicious data can become malicious code. A zero-click attack hides its payload inside something your phone processes on its own, a message, an image, a missed call, and lets the operating system infect itself. Your judgment never enters the equation because the attack is finished before you even know something arrived. To understand who builds weapons like this, start with a company in Israel called the NSO Group. NSO does not steal money. It does not run ransomware. It sells software. Its flagship product is called Pegasus, a remote surveillance system marketed exclusively to governments, officially for use against terrorists and serious criminals. Once Pegasus is on a phone, the phone belongs to the operator. Messages, photos, passwords, location history, encrypted apps read after decryption straight from the screen, the microphone and camera switched on silently, at will. The device in your pocket becomes the most intimate surveillance tool ever built, because you carry it everywhere, charge it next to your bed, and tell it everything. Pegasus did not need to break encryption. It just stood inside the phone and read over your shoulder. In 2021, the world got to see exactly how Pegasus got in, and the answer was a masterpiece of hostile engineering called forced entry. The exploit arrived as an iMessage. Hidden inside was a file pretending to be an animated image, but the data was built to abuse an obscure decades-old compression format, and the phone, dutifully parsing the message preview, walked straight into it. Researchers who later analyzed it found something remarkable. The malicious file built a virtual computer inside the image decoder itself and ran its logic in there, constructing the breach, piece by piece, inside a component whose only job was to display pictures. No tap, no link, no warning. The message processed itself, compromised the device, and vanished from the inbox. One of the most sophisticated exploits ever recovered, delivered by the same pipeline that shows you a birthday GIF. The reason we know any of this is a small research group at the University of Toronto called Citizen Lab. They are not a company. They are academics who spend their time examining the phones of journalists, lawyers, and human rights workers, people who suspect they are being watched. In March 2021, they were examining the phone of a Saudi activist, and they found something nobody had managed to capture before, a complete copy of the forced entry exploit sitting in the phone's files. They reported it to Apple, and within days, an emergency patch shipped to over 1 billion devices worldwide. Think about that chain of events. One researcher, one phone, one overlooked file, and the most advanced spyware vendor on the planet lost its best weapon overnight. The entire defense of the mobile world hinged on a handful of academics doing forensics that the industry was not doing. Checkpoint. A question before we continue. How did forced entry reach the phone? Option A. The victim tapped a malicious link in a text. Option B. A message arrived and the phone parsed it automatically, with no tap required. Option C. The victim installed a fake application from a store. Lock in your answer and drop it in the comments. The answer is B. The exploit arrived as an ordinary message, and the phone processed it the instant it was received, building its attack inside the image decoder. No tap, no preview, no warning. That is what zero-click means. Then came the question that mattered. Who was this weapon actually aimed at? The marketing said terrorists and criminals. The forensics said otherwise. Investigations by Citizen Lab, Amnesty International, and a consortium of journalists documented Pegasus infections and targeting across the phones of reporters, human rights lawyers, opposition politicians, diplomats, and heads of state. People close to Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist murdered in a Saudi consulate, were targeted before and after his death. Forensic analysts concluded the phone of Jeff Bezos, at the time the richest man on Earth, was likely compromised through a single video file sent on a messaging app. French government ministers, European officials, reporters in Mexico investigating cartels. The weapon sold to hunt terrorists kept being found on the phones of the people whose job is to hold power to account. That is not a bug in the business model. That is the business model. Apple's response came in stages, and each stage said something about how serious this was. First, the emergency patch shipped worldwide in September 2021. Then something Apple had never done before: threat notifications. If Apple's internal security team finds evidence that your device was targeted by state-sponsored spyware, you get a message on the lock screen by email, warning you in plain language that a government may be inside your phone. Imagine being a journalist and reading that over breakfast. Those notifications have now gone to people in over 150 countries, including politicians, diplomats, and world leaders. And for the highest risk users, Apple built lockdown mode, a setting that strips the phone down to essentials, blocking most attachments, link previews, and unsolicited connections, deliberately trading convenience for survival. When a trillion-dollar company adds a bunker mode to its flagship product, the threat is not theoretical. Then the lawyers arrived. In 2019, WhatsApp sued the NSO group in American court, alleging Pegasus had been fired at about 1,400 of its users through a missed call exploit. You did not even have to answer. The ringing itself delivered the payload. NSO argued it should have immunity because its customers are governments. The courts disagreed, and years later, WhatsApp won with a jury ordering NSO to pay over $150 million. In November 2021, Apple filed its own lawsuit, seeking to ban NSO from touching Apple devices forever. That same month, the United States Commerce Department blacklisted NSO, declaring its tools had been used against journalists, activists, and embassy workers, contrary to American interests. A company built to operate in silence became the first spyware vendor publicly at war with the two biggest phone platforms on Earth. But here is the uncomfortable truth. NSO was never the whole story. It was just the one that got caught in the spotlight. A rival product called Predator, sold by a network of companies known as Intellexa, was found on the phones of politicians and journalists in Europe and beyond. Before that, a German-built tool called Finfisher sold surveillance malware to governments until investigations and insolvency shut it down. And the market keeps producing new vendors, new brands, new jurisdictions, because the demand side never went away. Dozens of governments want phone access. They cannot build themselves, and they are willing to pay tens of millions for it. Shut down one vendor, and its engineers reappear under a new name in a friendlier country. This is not one rogue company. It is an industry. Checkpoint. One more question. When a government wants phone access, it cannot build itself. What does it do? Option A. It buys a ready-made exploit from a private spyware vendor. Option B. It gives up because the phone makers refuse. Option C. It asks the phone owner politely for permission. Lock in your answer and drop it in the comments. The answer is A. Shut down one vendor, and its engineers reappear under a new name in a friendlier country. Dozens of governments are willing to pay tens of millions for access, and the demand never goes away. This is not one company, it is an industry. And that industry lives in a legal gray zone, built out of one word: lawful. Spyware vendors describe their products as lawful intercept tools, sold only to governments, under export licenses for fighting crime and terror. Every word of that can be true, and the abuse still happens because once the software is delivered, the vendor's customer decides who counts as a criminal. In some countries, that means cartel bosses and traffickers. In others, it means the reporter investigating the Interior Ministry, the lawyer defending protesters, the opposition leader rising in the polls. Export controls were designed for missiles and radar, physical things you can inspect at a border. Spyware is a file. It crosses borders at the speed of a software update. The law treats these tools like regulated products. In practice, they behave like proliferating weapons. Which brings us to the engine underneath all of it, the zero-day market. A zero-day is a flaw the vendor does not know exists, which means no patch, no defense, no warning. Finding one in a modern phone takes world-class talent and months of work. A full zero-click chain, the kind Pegasus relied on, can sell for millions of dollars, and brokers openly publish price lists. The patch that killed forced entry shipped in September 2021. The next zero-click was already being developed before that patch landed. This is the cycle. Vendors patch, brokers buy, researchers find, operators deploy. Every fix raises the price of the next exploit, and the money keeps flowing because governments are the buyers, and governments do not run out of money. You cannot patch your way out of a market. What actually works? First, update immediately, every time. Most zero-click attacks die the day the patch ships, and attackers keep using old exploits against people who delay. The boring advice is the armor. Second, reboot your phone regularly. Much commercial spyware does not survive a restart and has to reinfect. A daily reboot costs you 30 seconds and forces the attacker to spend their exploit again. Third, if you are a high-risk person, a journalist, an activist, a lawyer, an executive handling sensitive deals, turn on lockdown mode or its equivalent and treat the lost convenience as the price of the work. Fourth, reduce what a compromise is worth. Sensitive conversations belong on disappearing messages, so a compromised phone yields days of material, not years. And fifth, take the threat notification seriously. If your platform warns you that a state actor targeted your device, that is not spam. Get forensic help and assume the phone is burned. You cannot stop a zero-click with caution. You can make yourself expensive, and expensive targets get skipped. Your phone was compromised before you woke up this morning, and you never touched a thing. No tap, no link, no warning. A single message arrived, processed itself in the background, took root, then vanished. Pegasus didn't need your mistake. It needed your phone to just exist. That's what zero-click means, and your phone is doing it right now. What if the spyware sold to fight crime kept showing up on journalists' phones? Pegasus was marketed to governments, licensed, legal, then forensics found it on reporters, lawyers, opposition leaders. Some tied to people, later silenced. The ringing phone, the missed call, the birthday GIF, all of them delivery mechanisms for a tool that turns your pocket into a live microphone. That's not a bug in the business model. That's the business model. The most honest thing about a zero-click attack is what it removes from the story. You. No mistake to regret. No link you should not have touched. The phone betrayed you all by itself because someone paid millions for the privilege. The countermeasure is hygiene and humility. Update fast, reboot often, lock down if you are hunted, and keep your most dangerous words off the device entirely. The exploit market only profits, while access to you is worth the invoice. Disconnect from the carrier node by hitting subscribe. Patch your devices before the next transmission drops. Stay dark, stay vigilant. Next transmission. The attacker passed the background check, showed up on time, did good work. The manager liked them. They were already inside, and they were stealing the whole time. Transmission complete. The breach is documented. The vector is confirmed. Subscribe to maintain access. Like to amplify the signal. Stay dark. Stay vigilant.